Yo, what's happening, people? Okay, so this is different, right? It's a rare occasion. I'm making a video from my webcam. I should probably be doing this more often, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, I thought I'd make a video from my webcam today and just talk to you guys about finances. Yes, I'm going to talk about finances. Real exciting stuff. So here's the thing. I saw an advert recently. It was an advert for an app. I forget the name of that app, and quite frankly, I don't think I want to know the name of the app anyway because I'm not going to use it. But it was just a terrible advert. And I kind of wish I could remember what it was so I can find it and maybe show you, just so you can see how terrible the advert was. But that's what inspired me, or partly inspired me, to want to make this video, because the ad was for this app that's a finance manager app, which, not a bad thing. Of course, it's good to have things to manage your finances, not a bad thing at all. But it just did it in such a terrible way, and it could very well be a good product. Like, the app itself may be fantastic. I wouldn't know. I'm not going to bother because it's such a terrible advert. But anyway, look, I am no financial expert. I'm just somebody who's, shall we say, made financial mistakes over the years, and had to learn the hard way about certain things. And I feel like I could share some of these things with you that might help some people out. Some of the things I'm about to say might sound super obvious. Other things, maybe not so much. I don't know. We'll see. But if it helps somebody, then that's a good thing. So yeah, I want to talk about how to have more money without having more money. That's the name of this video. How to have more money without having more money. So the first thing you're going to need to do is figure out how much money that you actually have. Now, when you get your money each month or each week, and that's whether you have a job, you get paid, whether you're self-employed and you're earning, or whether you are receiving benefits. When you get your money each month or each week, you want to note down how much exactly you're getting. And you can do that on using a spreadsheet. Now, you don't have to pay for a spreadsheet. There's plenty of spreadsheets you can get for free, or at least, well, I don't know about plenty, but there's only one you can get for free from Google. Google do a spreadsheet that you can use for free on the Google Drive. Let me show you right here, actually, because I set this up, man. Man's a professional in it. I'm not, but anyway. But yeah, you can get like a spreadsheet like this. So go to Google Drive, sign up to Google Drive. It's completely free. You get a whole bunch of gigabytes for free as well, and you can use their spreadsheet app. Or if you've got Excel or anything like that. But Excel, I don't know if you get a free version of Excel. I don't bother with that. I haven't bothered with Microsoft Excel for a long time. So anyway, the point is, you can get stuff for free. You don't have to pay for a spreadsheet. But trees say you don't even have to use your spreadsheet. You can just use a piece of paper. Go old school, paper and pen. You know what I mean? But the point is, you want some way of documenting the money that you receive along with the money that you spend, right? And a spreadsheet is an easy way to do that. So get yourself a spreadsheet, or just some way documenting everything that comes in. Now, you're also going to want to make sure you note down, like I said, everything that goes out. So every single one of your expenditures, whether that's your Netflix, your phone, it doesn't matter what it is. Everything, no matter how small it is, you want to note down what it is, how much it is, and when it comes out of your account, right? So you want the total amount of money that you get, right? And the total amount of money that you are of your regular payments or regular direct debits. Now, when it comes to things like, say, like your phone bill or any kind of bills where the exact amounts of money you pay changes on a monthly basis, because maybe you use a little bit more one month, use a little bit less one month. For that sort of thing, you want to go with the average highest amount. And what I mean by that is not necessarily the absolute most you've ever spent on your phone bill, because that one time that you call that sex chat line and it turned out to be a number in Jamaica or something, like you ended up with some £3,000 phone bill, like you could probably put that down to a one-off. That's not going to happen again, at least ideally, right? But the average highest amount, is in, let's say you normally spend around, I don't know, £20 on your phone bill, but every now and then it might go up to about 25. Put 25, right? The average highest amount. But once you've got all that down in terms of your outgoings, then you've got the total amount of money that comes out of your account, right, each month. Now, once you've got that, you're gonna want to have more than one bank account now, or more than one account. More specifically, you can have more than one account with one bank, but you're gonna want to have more than one account. So you want to have an account where your money gets paid into, like that's the account where money gets paid into. That should also be the account that your direct debits are coming from, like your monthly direct debits are coming from. And then, but once you've got the amounts that you receive and the amounts that you're spending each month, or your regular direct debits each month, the amount that's left over, you're going to want to put in a separate account, right? So whatever's left over, put in a separate account. Now from that, you could then decide things like how much you're going to put into your savings, how much you're going to put into your ISA, how much you're going to put towards, just, you're having fun and things like that, because you're going to want to have fun, right? You're going to want to have fun. I'm not here to tell nobody you have to be strict with this and strict with that and cut everything you don't absolutely need. You're going to want to have fun, because part of this is you need to be mentally okay, and things that you do to help yourself become mentally okay, that's important as well. So yeah, your Netflix, as far as I'm concerned, that's a necessity. But the point is that once you've got your total monthly recurring amounts total, the total amount that you're getting paid each month, the amount that's left over, put into a separate account, and then from there, this amount you can put into your savings, this amount you can put into your ISA, this amount you can put into this. Now it's going to be different for different people, because not everybody has the same amount of money. But whether it's like £1 here and £1, that's not the point. The point really is that you need to get to a place where you are knowing exactly what's coming out, so you're not guessing. Now, when you put your money into the separate account, right, that particular account should have either no overdraft, or, in my opinion, have a little bit of an overdraft. And the reason for that is you definitely don't want a big overdraft, right? But something small, like maybe no more than £50 overdraft. And the reason for that is because although you should be keeping track of what you're spending from that account, because that's the account that you're spending from. You're not spending from your main account. That's why you have separate accounts, by the way. So the account where your money gets paid into, your direct debit is coming from that as well. You know what's how much that's going to be total. So the rest you're moving over, and that's where you're spending from. So your debit cards and things like that, they're going to be attached to the other accounts, right? So when you go to a shop to like, oh, I want to get some donuts today, or whatever, I want to get a sandwich today, I want to get a coffee today, whatever it is, that's going to come from the second account, right? Now, ideally, you're keeping track of what you're spending there as well, but I get it. We'll all sometimes make mistakes, and you don't want to make a mistake, go a little bit overdrawn, and immediately you've got a whole bunch of interest on you. So I would say have a small overdraft, no more than £50, but you don't want a big overdraft, because that might be a bit too tempting to start spending money that you don't have, you know what I mean? So have a small overdraft, agreed with your bank. That way, if you do go a little bit over, you're not being charged interest right away, right? So that's why I feel that's a good idea to have. Also, this might depend on your bank, but you could also get your bank, or potentially get your bank, to send you a text message when you reach below a certain amount. So once it drops below, I don't know, say £50, for example, like let's say you put £100, let's say put £100 into your other account, your second account, and then you spend a bit, and that goes down to £49.50. As soon as that happens, your bank sends you a text message and they say, look, your account is below £50, and then okay, I need to be a little bit more careful, especially when you've got a lot of month left, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's only day number 2, you're like, it's like, so yeah, when you wanna, if your bank does this, get them to send you a text message or an email or some kind of notification that your account is below a certain amount, just so you know to be a little bit careful and not go so hard and things like that. But the real thing is separating your accounts, so that your recurring, your regular payments come from one account, and your ad hoc payments can come from another account, and you're just knowing what's coming from where, how much comes from this and how much comes from that. Another thing you should do as well, I probably should have mentioned this a bit earlier as well, but once you do write down all your monthly outgoings, definitely do take the time to decide what you actually want, what you actually need, and if anything can just go. Because let's be honest, like, yeah, we do, you know, like I said, Netflix is a necessity as far as I'm concerned. But, you know, if you've got things that you're just not really using, or just something that you signed up for a while ago, you forgot to cancel it, you know, stuff like that, you know, let it go. You know, you got to want to make sure that you know exactly what's coming out, how much it's coming, what you're paying, how much you're paying, and when in the month you are paying it. And speaking of when in the month you're paying it, if you do get your money monthly, if you're getting paid monthly or receiving your money monthly, it's a lot of times people want their money to come out at the beginning of the month, or just when they receive their money. You know, you want your money to come out about the time that you get your payments, right? And that's not, strictly speaking, a bad idea. But it could also be a good idea to separate your direct debits a little bit as well. So not everything is coming out at the same time. And that's especially good especially a good idea, I think, if you get paid or if you receive your money weekly. Let me put it on silent, my bad. If you receive your money weekly. For people who get their money monthly, I still think it's a good idea, but it's maybe not as imperative. But if you receive your money weekly, I think it's definitely a good idea to spread things out a bit, because your total monthly direct debits might be this much, right? But the money you're going to get weekly is going to be probably around about there. And if you've got this much money trying to come out your account where you're only getting paid this much for the week, it's kind of a problem. Did you see what I did? Oh, my microphone might have been away. The point. Let me come here. If you got this much money coming out of your account and it's all at the same time, but your weekly payments are like this, it's a problem, right? So you're gonna want to spread your payments out. So you got a bit coming out at the beginning, maybe a little bit a week or two later. Ideally, you want everything coming out, say, by the third week. You want everything that you need to pay the month done by the third week. That way, that last week of payment that you get, you know, is pretty much clear for the most part. You know, there's always something, right? I get it, it's life, but it's pretty much clear for the most part. But I feel like if you get your money weekly, separate your direct debits. Make sure you got a little bit at the beginning, maybe a little bit a week later, and then by the third month everything's done. But yeah, have them at different times, so you're not just like battering your bank account and then, oh man, it's a whole week to go, because that could be a long week when you got this much money trying to come at your account and you only got this much money coming for the week. So it could be a real long week if it's like that. So separate your direct debits, or spread out your direct debits. Spread out your direct debits over I would say the first 3 weeks. I mean, I guess it specifically, I might just down to specifics. Can I even talk? It's going to really come down to how exactly you manage your money and what works best for you. But for me, I feel like ideally within the first 3 weeks, if everything can be done that way, that last payment for the month is relatively clear. But if you have to go over that, then it just is what it is. You know, you have to deal with the situation the best way that works for you. But bottom line is, with everything, whether you're getting weekly payments or monthly payments, receiving monthly, weekly, whatever, just knowing exactly what is coming out, how much is coming out, when it's coming out, and have that written down on a spreadsheet, on a document, somewhere that you can access easily, quickly, and just know exactly what it is and be on top of what's going on. Another thing to consider as well is using a bank like Monzo. Now, I don't know if Monzo are the only ones that do this. They're just the only ones that I know that do this. But a bank like Monzo, where you set up one account, and in that account you could have separate pots, right? So within the pots, you can have a pot for example, this is the pot that I have for your monthly grocery shopping, for example. There's a pot that you have for clothes, a pot that you have for I don't know, whatever. It doesn't really matter what. You have as many pots as you need to have, and you put money in each pot. Now what that does in the account is that you still have your main account, right, which is what you spend from, but once that reaches zero, nothing gets taken from your pot. So you're just going to have to get more money into your account. And the reason why that's good is because, it helps you to kind of keep track of what you're spending how much you're spending and where your money is. Also, you can just keep things separately in different parts as to knowing what you're saving for and that sort of thing. Another thing to consider, I mentioned ISAs before. ISAs are good as a good way of saving money and earning interest, because I feel like, I mean, I don't know, it might be just your different banks. I know my bank doesn't do this anymore. They used to back in the day, but I don't think many banks do this anymore, if any does anymore. But it used to be that you earn money off your current account savings, right? That doesn't seem to happen anymore. Like now it seems the only way you could earn what did I say? Earn savings, earn interest off your current account savings. Now it seems like the only way you earn interest is if you have a savings account or an ISA, right? ISA stands for investment savings account. So you don't earn interest off your current account. So yeah, you're gonna want to have a savings account or an ISA. I don't know if it matters too much which one. I guess you look into which one gives you. I mean, they're both pretty flexible. I think savings accounts are probably a little bit more flexible because you don't have to wait for your money when it comes to withdrawing it. With ISAs, you might have to wait like a day or two for it to clear. But aside from that, it's not. They're pretty flexible. The key difference between savings and ISAs, though, or more specifically, the key difference for self-employed people is that it's not going to matter for most other people, I think. But the key difference is that with a savings account, you still have to pay tax on your interest if you have a savings account. So when you receive your whatever interest you get, though that interest that £5, £2, £6, whatever it is, that interest you still pay tax on if you're self-employed, right? If you have an ISA account, you don't pay tax on the interest because the tax is already done already. So that's something to bear in mind. I feel like not everybody might know that. Maybe I ain't no expert. I'm just some guy that does stuff. But ISA, you don't pay tax on your interest because the tax is already taken care of. But if you have a savings account, the interest that you receive, you still need to declare that and pay tax on that. If you're not self-employed, I don't think it matters too much because you wouldn't be, well, I say you wouldn't be, depends on how much you're earning. But likely you're not going to be earning enough for it to be declared on the interest you earn. So I don't think you have to worry about too much if you're not self-employed. But if you are self-employed, it's considered an income and therefore it needs to be declared, and then it adds into your total amount of profit margin stuff that you pay your taxes and that whole thing. But non-self-employed people, you don't have to worry too much about that until it reaches whatever amount. But at that point, you probably have an accountant who'll let you know what to do from there. At least you should, But yeah, another thing as well, apparently not everybody has a passport, which that kind of surprised me when I found that out, where not everybody has a passport, because I kind of assumed everybody has a passport, right? But apparently it's not the case. Get a passport. You're going to find that a passport is very useful to have. I think the reason why a lot of people don't bother with passports, well, a couple of reasons. One is that they're not cheap. I mean, I think I did my passport, the last one I did was probably coming up to about 6 or 7 years ago. I think at the time it was about 80 quid. They've probably gone up since, hopefully not, but when it comes to time for renewal, I think mine's due for renewal in about 6 years. So actually, when would it have been? It would have been about 4 years ago then. It would have been 4 years ago because they lost for 10 years. Anyway, the point is, yeah, they're not cheap. They're about £80, whatever it is now. So I get it. They're not cheap. And if you don't travel a lot, if you're not planning on traveling anytime soon, then I get it. You're probably thinking, well, why bother, right? I still think it's worth getting a passport. Either that or a driving license. If you have a driving license, then you might be okay without a passport. But you want either a driving license or a passport, preferably both. But if you have to have one or the other, I'd say get a passport. Passports are going to be cheaper to get than a driving license, and usually a lot quicker and a lot less hassle. You don't have to pass no damn test to get a passport. You have to do a whole bunch of things if you're trying to get a driver license, really. But yeah, you want either a driver license or a passport, or preferably both. The point is you want some kind of officially recognized ID, and passports, driver license are good for that. So when it comes to things like applying for loans and that sort of thing, they often ask for ID and they're usually going to ask for either a passport or driver license. Yeah, so one of those, and passports, I believe, which is a bit easier to get than driver license, but one or the other, preferably both. But yeah, you're going to want one of those. Anyway, so that's going to be good for when it comes to things like applying for loans or stuff like that, because they could, identify who you are officially and easily and that whole thing. And speaking of loans, so when you are buying things, in particular, if you buy in like more expensive items, right? They often do like finance deals where you pay monthly over a period of time. And if they're doing something like that, look for interest-free options. Now, even if you have the money to pay for it, actually, let me back up a little bit. If there is an interest-free option, take it. I'll come back to the interest stuff in a moment. If you're buying something quite expensive and they have an interest-free option, always take it, even if you have the money to pay for it there and there. Like if you're buying something for £1,000, for example, and you have £5,000 saved up, so you can easily just buy it all at once, right? Take the interest-free option regardless. And the reason for that is because, as I said before, like if you have an ISA account or a savings account, you earn interest off that, but the interest is based on how much you have in your account, right? So if you have £5,000 in your account, you're earning interest on that £5,000. You take £1,000 out of that to buy this thing that you're trying to get, and now you're earning interest of £4,000. Whereas if you took out the interest-free option to buy this item, you can pay £100 or whatever it is per month for however long it is, right? Let's say, I don't know, £100 per month for 10 months. So you take £100 out your account. Okay, you're not earning interest on that £5,000 anymore, but earning interest on £4,900 is going to be better than earning interest on £4,000, and you can do that over the however 10 months or how long a period it is. The point is, you keep more money in your account to earn interest off, and you're not paying more for the item because it's an interest-free finance option. So anytime you see an interest-free finance option for 10 months or a year, they're usually about 10 months or a year with the interest-free stuff. Sometimes they go a little bit longer, sometimes. But anytime you see an interest-free option, take that and take it for as long as you can get on the interest-free. Now, if they don't have an interest-free option, and it is just the finance that they have, the regular, I don't know, 10% finance, whatever APR they charge it to regular stuff, don't assume that you have to take their option. You can look for loans. Going on compare sites is a good thing to do when you're looking for loans. Check a few different compare sites though, because different compare sites have different deals with different companies and different sponsorships and whatever business things they got going on and all that kind of stuff. So when you go to one compare site, it's going to list a bunch of people willing to give you a loan. Goes with a different compare site, you'll see a bunch of different companies looking to give willing to give you a loan as well. So even compare the compare sites is what I'm saying. Compare the compare sites. But yeah, if you're looking to buy something for £1,000, look who's going to give you the best interest. Yeah, or the lowest interest more specifically. And that's not always going to be the company that's doing the finance scheme. Oftentimes they do like 29% or whatever it is, and you might be able to get it down to 9%, 5%, 3% in some cases if you're taking out a loan. But yeah, look around, compare sites as well, and look who's giving you the best interest rate. Now, to get the best interest rates, you need to have a good credit rating, right? People generally don't offer you the lowest interest rates if you have a bad credit rating, and the only ones who are willing to give you give you a loan if you have a bad credit rating are usually the ones that charge exorbitant amounts, to the point where it's just not even worth it, where the interest rate might be as high as like 50, 60, 70%. You know, it can get pretty ridiculous when you have a bad credit rating. So if you have a bad credit rating, or even have a good credit rating and you just want to improve your credit rating, one of the easiest ways to do that is to get a credit card. If assuming you don't have one already, get a credit card. Now, when you get your credit card, buy things on your credit card, but only buy things that you know you can pay back quickly, because credit cards are just that. They are cards of credit, and they do charge interest on that. And you don't want to be trying to buy something that's only a tenner and end up paying, you know, £200 for it by the time you pay it back because the interest rates went up and you took too long to, you know what I mean? So only buy stuff that you know you can pay back, and pay it back quickly, because what that does is that it sets up a financial behavior. I don't know what the right term is, but something, but basically like a pattern of finance, which shows that you can pay things back relatively quickly. So buy things that you know you could afford and pay it back quickly. That's one of the easiest ways to improve your credit rating, but you gotta be careful, because I've been there, where you got your credit card. In fact, my first credit card, my very first credit card, I was very careful with it, actually. Very careful for about a year, and then I went wild. Went wild. So yeah, be careful. Just be very disciplined with it. Buy stuff, pay it back quickly. Buy stuff, like within a month, within a few weeks if possible, but pay it back before the interest rates come in. Keep doing that, and that would help to improve your credit rating. Another way to improve your credit rating is, take out loans, and then again, pay it back quickly. So if you take out a loan that you agree to pay back over a year, pay it back in a year. And that includes interest-free loans as well. In fact, speaking of interest-free loans, Barclays do what they call a Barclays Partner Finance. Now, they do this through Amazon, and I would assume they do this through other retail outlets as well, but I don't know. I've only seen it on Amazon. But what it is that you apply for a line of credit with Barclays Partner Finance. And once you've applied for that, you've been approved for that, you don't have to apply for a line of credit again. And that's really good, because what it means is that, let's say you apply for a line of credit of £1,500, £1,500, right? That's there. That you can go on Amazon and then buy, say, £300 worth of items, and then pay that back interest-free over, 6 months or whatever it is. And then you could buy maybe another £400 worth of items and pay it. You know what I mean? The point is, you don't have to keep doing a credit check every single time, because once you've got that line of credit approved, anything you buy, as long as it's within that 1,500 or whatever the limit is that you get, as long as whatever you buy is within that £1,500, you don't have to keep applying for another credit rating. And that's good, because it means that, again, you got that credit, you show you can pay it back, and make sure you do pay it back before the interest kicks in. But things like that are going to help improve your credit rating. And and once you've got a good credit rating, that means you've got access to better loans if you need them. You've got access to better mortgage rates if you need them, and it just makes buying things a whole lot easier. But yeah, you got to be careful. Don't get it and then be done with it, and then start spending. Remember what I said about the spreadsheets? Keep track of how much you spend, how much, and when keep track of how much you spend includes any money you owe as well. So if you got if you got a loan that you got to pay £100 a month on, make sure that's in your spreadsheet as well. So just to recap, what I've been saying, really comes down to keeping track of your incoming money, your outgoing money. Get either a passport or a driving license, or both. Get a credit card if you don't have one. Use it. Make sure you pay it back quickly to improve your credit rating. Have more than one account. I'll say have at least 3 accounts. You can and this is going to depend on your bank as well, how many accounts you can have with them, but you can have more than one account with the same bank. But if not, get a different bank. Have one bank here, another bank there, another bank there. But I would say have at least 3 separate bank accounts, and have and use them for different things. This is for the money that you spend here. This is for the money that you spend on this money you may spend on that. Have a savings account or an ISA or both. Even if you only put in £1 a month in there, it's just something. Put as whatever you could afford. Be honest with what you could afford, of course. Don't lie to yourself about what you could afford. But whatever it is you could afford, even if it's just a tiny little bit, put it in your savings account, put it in your ISA account, and don't touch it, because that little bit every month builds up. Pennies make pounds. This is something my dad used to say to me years ago. Man, I'm telling this, my dad, what's going on? pennies make pounds. So yeah, maybe just a tiny little bit that you might not think nothing of, but that little bit that you put away and then the interest that you earn on it, you know, that couple of pennies that you put away, you get a little bit of interest. Now you got 3 pence. You know what I mean? It's something. It's something. It's more money than you would have had you not done it. So I'm just saying, be honest with what you could afford, but wherever you could afford, put it in a savings account or an ISA. If you could do both, do both. Oh, speaking of putting money away, pensions. Let me not forget about pensions. You have a pension with the government, and that's what your national insurance is for. If you have a job, then you most likely have a pension with your employer. I still think it's a good idea to have a personal pension as well. So that'd be 3 pensions, 1 from the government, 1 from your job, and then your personal pension that you set up that you put money into. The reason, well, you should have at least 2 when it comes down to it. You should have at least 2 pensions. If you have 3, even better, but you should have at least 2: the government and your workplace pension, or your government and your personal pension, or your government, your workplace, and your personal pension. All right. But yeah, have a personal pension that you could put a little bit of money in, as well. Again, if whatever you could afford, if it's a little bit, if it's a lot, whatever you could afford. But the reason why I think it's a good idea to have a personal pension is because it helps you to keep track of your pensions and what you're going to want to do, especially if you've had loads of jobs over the years. What tends to happen, or what happens quite, I don't want to say a lot, but it's not uncommon where pension companies close, right? They go out of business, they close down, and you know they get bought over and things like that. Now, I used to work at a pensions firm, and this is how I know this, and kind of one of the reasons why I started doing things a bit differently as well. So I was like, damn. But what could happen is that, let's say you had a job in, I don't know, 1992. I'm going back a while, I know. You had a job in 1992 and you worked there for, let's say you worked for 5 years, so you worked up until 1997. Anyway, you left that company and you've had maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 jobs since then. Now, the company that you worked at back in the 90s, they had a pension set up for you, but unfortunately, the company that set up that pension closed down. Now, your pension is never lost, but it can go missing, and it's what happens. When your pension company closed down, it gets moved to a different company, right? And a letter would get sent out to everybody that, oh, this is what happened. However, that was in 1992. You might have also, not only have you moved jobs since then, you might have moved house since then. You know, you might have moved 3, 4, 5, 6 times since then. So a letter gets sent out to someone who used to live. They don't know. Then the people who live there don't know who you are, because the people who went in it after you, they've moved out, and then other people live there and they've moved out. They get a letter for who's that? Whatever. You know, so it gets sent back. Well, hopefully the people who receive it send it back, but even then it's like they don't know where you live. You know, because even if they return it to sender, this company's like, okay, but we don't have the new address of and where they are. We don't know. So your pension's not lost, but it can go missing. So what you're going to want to do, if you haven't done this already, is make sure every place you've worked at before that set up a pension for you, get that transferred into your personal pension. That way you know exactly where it is, right? So if you worked at some place 10 years ago, find out if they had a pension for you. Because, and by the way, I think the law about pensions and workplaces is relatively new. So if you did work in a place like in the 90s, you might not have had a pension back then. Just saying, you might not have. But some companies did it, but it wasn't required by law to do it back then. I think that law is only about 10, 15 years old or something. But anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, wherever you've worked in the past, find out if they had a pension for you. Find out which company ran that pension. If that company still has it, great, get it transferred into your current pension. If that company doesn't have it got moved on, find out who it got moved on to and get it transferred into your current pension. And if it has been moved to another company, honestly, it could be very difficult to find out where it is. In fact, in some cases, it could even be impossible. So that's something to bear in mind as well. Which is why, if as much as you can, any pension you had, find it and get it moved into your personal pension. That way you know exactly where it is. And the job you have right now, whoever runs that pension right now, if you ever leave that job, what happens to your pension is that it goes into I think they call it a state. I forget the word, but it goes into a state where it's just there, but nothing's really happening with it. Like, you're still earning some interest and stuff like that, but nothing's really happening with it. Anyway, I think we call it an inactive state or something. It doesn't really matter. The point is, if you leave that company, get that transferred into your personal pension again, so you just know exactly where it is. And then your personal pension, whichever company runs that, if anything happens to them, they've got your address. They'll know. They can send it out to you. They can email you. They can get in contact with you if anything's going to happen to that company, and they'll let you know where it's moving to, and then you know to make sure they've got all your right details and blah 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 and this, that, and the other. So remember, your pensions don't ever get lost, so to speak, but it can go missing if you're not careful. So make sure you track your pensions. And if it is a case where you worked somewhere 15, 20, 30 years ago, you've moved a bunch of times since then, the pension's been moved around a bunch of times since, I ain't gonna lie to you, it could be impossible to find it. It could be impossible, but if you can get it moved into your personal pension. Yeah, like I said, I used to work at a pensions company. I've just seen that happen, and it's tough because people got money out there. It's somewhere, and it just can't access it, you know. So yeah. Anyway, to recap, keep track of everything. Keep track of what's coming in, what's going out, how much you're paying, when's it coming out, who you're paying it to. Get a passport, get a driver license, one or the other or both. Track your pensions, make sure you got your pensions, make sure you have a personal pension account set up. Make sure any pensions you had in the past, any companies you worked for in the past, as much as you can find, get them transferred into your current pension. Always go for the interest-free loans, interest-free finance schemes if you're buying something, and if there's an interest-free option available. Have separate accounts for separate things, either separate banks if your bank doesn't let you separate different accounts. But if you've got one bank that lets you have multiple accounts in there, but just have different accounts, either different accounts or different banks. Either way, different things, different accounts for different things, and that way it just helps you keep track of what's going in, what's coming out. Keep your overdraft low, yeah. £50, no more than £50, because like I say, we all make mistakes. We sometimes go a bit over. You don't want your bank charging you interest on an account on your overdraft right away. So you've got an approved overdraft about £50. You know, okay, got a bit over, but you're good for a bit before your interest kicks in. Also, get your bank to notify you, whether text, email, however, once your account goes below a certain amount, so you know to start being a bit more careful. But in general, just keep track of anything. You do that, yeah. Oh yeah, savings accounts, ISAs account, no matter how little you could put in that, your pensions, as personal pensions, no matter how little you could put into those things, put it into those things, and whatever little bits you could earn off of that, it's more than what you would have had if you don't do it. So yeah, you do all that, and hopefully that means you can have a little bit more money without necessarily having more money, you know, because you've got the money that out of all that, you're still separating some money that you know that you can spend, that you can be like, okay, this is my have fun money, this is my go to town money, you know. You got that in that separate account, and you know that account's going to let you know once you get a bit too low, or once you go over or a little over the amount or whatever. So you know what I mean, you can keep track of that very easily as well. So those are the Bandit Haze the Haze Days tips on how to have more money without having more money. Like I say, some of these things might seem obvious to some people. I'm no financial expert. I'm just a guy that's made a lot of money mistakes in the past, and I've had to learn a hard way. You don't have to spend dumb money on whether it's some app or whatever, or you can get free spreadsheets. It's not that hard, you know what I'm saying? Like, or piece of paper, pen and paper, but just something you can access easily, and then keep track of everything. Do that at least once a month, or whenever, however you feel you need to, depending on your money and your finances and this and that. But probably at least once a month, I think, is good. Keep track of that, and yeah, you can have more money without having more money. But anyway, let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any other tips. Let me know if, I'll say I'm no expert. I might need some advice too. So let me know if you got any other tips or anything that you're doing that you think helps as well. But yeah, that's going to be all for now for this long ass video. And until whenever, if ever, peace.